Happy Thursday, everybody. Thanks for joining us here for Wake Up Charlotte to Go. I'm Ben Thompson, joined by my colleague, Sarah French. And this morning we're joined by Dr. P, as he goes by. He's the Chief Medical Officer over at StarMed. By now, I'm sure you're aware of StarMed. They've really been leading the way here locally in the Charlotte area when it comes to the vaccination and testing efforts. And we're so glad that Dr. P can come be with us and answer your questions, because we know you got a lot of questions out there. So list them here, and we'll try to pass them along to him either during this or afterwards. And of course, the focus for a lot of folks right now is on this new variant, Omicron. And Doc, I know we've gotten our first detection in San Francisco yesterday, first case. Are you operating under the assumption it's already here in our area?
The reality is, when we get positive results, we don't check the variants for all of them. Up to this point, we expected pretty much 95% of the variants to be Delta related. So we weren't specifically looking for anything new. So honestly, it probably is here. We just have not caught it.
So we have a question from a viewer, Elisa from Gastonia, and she was asking, how is this variant different from Delta?
So what happens with variants? What a variant is just a mutation on the virus. And the virus itself has a lot of different places that it can mutate. And the more mutations it has, the more concerning it is. And the reason for that is your vaccine, or even your natural antibodies, if you had gotten COVID before, specifically recognizes a specific type of virus. And as that virus changes, different parts of that virus changes, it doesn't recognize it anymore, which means your body is less likely to be able to fight it and be able to defend itself. So for this one, there's actually 50 different mutations of this virus from the original strain, which is really concerning.
So does that mean that the current set of vaccines that people are getting, that you guys are giving out there, and the booster that people are now getting, do we have a good sense yet whether or not those vaccines, the booster, is going to be as effective yet? I know it's sort of an ongoing, moving thing.
Yep. So both Moderna, Pfizer have said that within about 2 weeks, they'll know for sure. And honestly, science takes a little time. So 2 weeks is actually very quick for them to be able to figure out how well it works. But what they're looking for is specific antibodies that would be produced against this virus. And the concerning part about this virus is a lot of those mutations are on the spike protein, which is what the vaccines are supposed to defend against. Now, what that means is, against the initial strain that it was made for, they're about 94 to 96% effective. Against the Delta strain, it was about 70% effective. Is it still going to be protecting you? Absolutely. Is it still probably going to save you from ending up in the hospital and dying? Absolutely. Are more people going to get sick because it's less effective? Probably.
So what's your advice for people right now? Obviously, we're in the holiday season. People have travel plans. They're gearing up maybe to go see loved ones, friends, and family. What's your recommendation with all of that right now?
So even though the vaccines are not as great as they used to be at 96%, it's still better than nothing. It's like if you're driving without a seatbelt on and saying, oh, well, it only protects me about 50, 60% of the time. That 50, 60% of the time is very important if you get into a car crash. So why would you not defend yourself? What we're encouraging everyone to do is obviously get their boosters. If they haven't gotten their first dose, get your first dose, second dose. Let's get protected before it gets worse.
Stefan in Winston-Salem asked a question when it comes to the effectiveness of this Merck pill just approved against COVID. Explain how, unlike the other things we've talked about, how a pill would work when it comes to this.
So the pill, the Merck pill specifically, they're saying is about 30% effective in decreasing hospitalizations and death. These pills are going to be great because they can keep people out of the hospital. It's easier, obviously, than some of the other treatments that we have because we can just prescribe it and give it to you and you can take it at home. The issue with these pills, unfortunately, is if it is only 30% effective against the original strain or Delta strain, we don't know what it's going to be against Omicron.
Let me ask you about this. Of course, I know it's a controversial topic, but masks in school, some schools require them, some are optional. We've seen a few schools right now recently go to optional where they had that mask mandate in place. But now with this new variant here, what do you think?
The reality is, we know masks work. I don't know why it's turned into such a big deal. Masks absolutely work. Physicians, nurses, anyone in healthcare has worn masks for about 100 years or so. And we wear masks whenever we're exposed to people who are infectious. We wear masks to limit our infection to other people. You know, your surgeon wears masks throughout a 4 or 5 hour surgery consistently. There is no medical reason not to wear a mask. Now, is it an inconvenience? I'm sure it's an inconvenience, but you get used to it, and it's important to help save yourself and help others.
Let me ask you something that one of the comments that's popped up, and I think it's a good one because I think it goes to what we don't know, and I think what we don't know right now is almost as important as what we do know. Rachel made the comment about the chair of the South African Medical Association, and I saw this online yesterday. According to what she stated, nothing warrants the actions taken by the UK government and other governments as well when it comes to travel bans. That the variant at this point appears to have milder symptoms. And I think it goes to the point you made and others have made, is we're still a couple of weeks out from knowing really what we need to know about this virus.
So the reality is we don't know for sure, but there's 2 points to this. The first is the physician that first noticed the Omicron and the person that's being quoted to have been said that it's milder symptoms, they misquoted her. So if you actually listen to what she says all of her patients, the 12 patients she had, were all under the age of 40 and had no risk factors. She specifically said she's concerned about people with risk factors that do get this. So even though they had milder symptoms, it was still in a much healthier population. Now, when we look at the population of South Africa, there's been an increase in their hospitalizations very recently, which we believe is related to Omicron. So even if, let's say, it's exactly the same deadliness as Delta is, if it's as contagious as we're worried about, up to 500% more contagious, that means it's 500% more chance of people getting sick. That's how many more people are going to end up in the hospital. So even if it's not deadlier and it's just as deadly, more people are going to get sick, and unfortunately, it's going to cause more death.
So Joy is asking, is this new variant bad? Is it worse? I know in California, that person had the first 2 Moderna shots, but not the booster yet. So first talk to me about how important it is to get that booster shot. And then my second part of this question, for me as a parent, I had a mom friend ask me as well, like 5 and up can be vaccinated, but I have a 3-year-old. So should we be more concerned with this new variant? How is this going to affect our kids?
So 2 parts to that. The first part is, again, we don't know how bad this is. The person that was in California that was vaccinated, we don't specifically know how long ago they were vaccinated. We do know that our antibodies do decrease from the vaccine after about 6 months. So that's why the FDA has encouraged anyone that has gotten Moderna or Pfizer to get their booster after 6 months. Because as your antibodies drop, obviously your level of protection is dropping. So the question is, did that person get recently vaccinated and they actually had antibodies and the virus was able to get past those antibodies? Or the person didn't have many antibodies left, so the virus was pretty much targeting someone who had pretty much not been vaccinated at that point. So it's very hard to say without knowing the specifics of that case. Now, in regards to children, on a side note, we do the Moderna Kid Cove trials here in Charlotte. So anyone with children between the ages of 6 months to 5 years old, we're still recruiting for the vaccine trial. So if anyone's interested in having their child participate, we will gladly take them. That's actually up until December the 18th. So we do have quite a few slots still open. This is something that can obviously change the world because we want to prove that these vaccines work in kids as well. Now, how are we going to take care of our kids? Again, it's the same thing. Wash hands as much as possible, limit as much exposure as possible. It's a virus. It's going to spread. Unfortunately, we're getting to the winter season, which means we're going to be indoors more often. We're going to be around people more often. So it's just going to spread the same way every other virus does.
Well, listen, Dr. P, we appreciate your time. We know you're a busy man. And most of all, we appreciate everything that you guys are doing and your expertise and your long hours and the testing, the vaccines, all of it, because it's organizations like yours and doctors like you that are really helping us through this pandemic. And we want you to know how much we appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.